Hello. So for my scripture, I have chosen Mark chapter 11, verse 13 and 14, and it says, "Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, 'May no one ever eat fruit from you again.' And his disciples heard him say it." Now, I know normally in this scripture we don't necessarily focus on these verses. We move down a little further into the actual parable of the withered fig tree. But for whatever reason, I got really hung up on this verse. And I was just kind of like, okay, why is Jesus cursing this fig tree for no reason? It was actually out of season, so duh, it wasn't going to have any fruit ready. But there are two things that I got out of this scripture and that I'm going to share with you. The first one is the power of your words or your authority, and the second is to be prepared in and out of season. So the first point, power of your words, we see even back in Proverbs 18 verse 21 that life and death is in the power of your tongue. So throughout scripture we see our mouth, this thing right here, exerts so much authority, and we see Jesus demonstrate that authority all through Mark. And immediately in the scripture you see him speak to this fig tree and curse it. So that's the first thing we see. Jesus uses his authority. And the second thing we see is to be prepared. Again, I felt so sorry for this little fig tree. I'm like, it's not the season for figs. Why should it be cursed? Big deal. I work in the food and beverage industry, and if we know we're not going to be able to get strawberries in winter because it's not going to be a good product, they're not ripe, they're not ready, we're not going to bother with it anyway. And we're not going to call the purveyor and curse them out. We already know, okay, that's not ready, fine, whatever. But in the scripture in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 2, it says, "Preach the word, be prepared in season and out." And as believers, we're not really given an off season. We get weak, we get broken down, we kind of, if you're like me, go off and do your own thing and aren't prepared. I don't always feel prepared, but the scripture is challenging us and telling us to be prepared. And we don't have to be like the little fig tree that was cursed because it wasn't ready, it wasn't in season. Because in John 15, what does it talk about? I notice the Bible likes to use this whole fruit thing a lot. And in John 15 it says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me you can do nothing." And then if you scoot down to verse 7, it says, "If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be given to you." So again, I know I kind of got hung up on this small verse before it's fully manifested and we really see Jesus speaking, to the mountain and all that in verses 20 through 25. But I kind of gleaned some information out of that scripture, verses 13 and 14, for whatever reason. I guess I just got hung up on it. And I'm like, what can I get out of this? And the other thing was that at the end of that scripture, it says the disciples heard him. It was almost like this foreshadowing of what what Jesus was about to teach them and was about to show them. But even before then, in this small little reference, I feel like we kind of skip over it sometimes. Jesus was teaching big things even in those two little verses, the power of our words and to be prepared in season and out. We don't have to be like the fig tree that's gonna be cursed and withered and whatever, burnt to the ground. You can really get caught up in all the cross references. I was looking through Luke and Matthew and reading all these different scriptures, but it's simple. We just see the authority that Jesus had, and then also it's what was so cool is that later on in the scripture we see in 2 Timothy to be prepared in and out of season. So we don't have to be like that little fig tree. Anyway, that's just something I got out of it. Hopefully you do too, but that's what your girl has for you tonight. I'm out.